next guest this evening is a musician who's played everything from guitar in rock bands to bagpipes for the Australian Army. But it's singing and dancing with the Wiggles that's seen him shoot to fame all around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, please say hello to the Blue Wiggle himself, Anthony Field. Anthony, the last child of seven?
Seven.
Did you have to show off to get attention?
All the time. All the time.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's meet the whole family. Like
Wow.
all the Fields. Mum, Dad, and... yes.
Well, I love this photo because my mum is Italian background, but you'd never know because she dyed her hair blonde when she got, in her 30s.
Right.
So I didn't remember it, that she had the dark hair and she really looks it there.
Look at her there. It's the Italian princess.
Yeah, and Dad's very proud. Now, there's only 6 of us there. This is me there, little baby. And my sister, she hadn't arrived by then, is actually my cousin. We adopted Anne because her mother died when Anne was only a little baby of asthma. She died of asthma, and that was in the early 60s, and Mum and Dad took Anne in, so she's my sister. And
so, a huge family like that, how was it all moving around together?
Believe it or not, Mum had a Mini Minor, and, and all 7 of us went in there without seatbelts. They were the days. Dad had an old EH, I think, Holden.
Right.
And he'd have the beer can holder in the glove box.
Yeah.
So he'd be
That's
or
right.
doing a long neck as he's driving. It was great.
And he liked a ciggy too, your dad.
Yeah. Dad was a chain smoker. He'd start him up, and he was a chemist as well, so he would be making up the medicine and, having a smoke while he dispensed the medicine. That was what it was.
A chain-smoking pharmacist.
He was, yeah, and actually he had a massive heart attack in 1969. And the next day, this is what was done in those days, a nurse brought him in the packet of ciggies the next day. And, it wasn't really connected at that time that this was what was causing it.
And did he turn himself around, after the heart attack?
He
Stop
became,
smoking?
the big anti-smoker.
Oh, right.
But he took up chewing gum instead. So he was always putting chewing gum in his mouth. Took packets everywhere, yeah.
Well, I suppose he had to find an alternative. Now, this is you, and with an interesting set of teeth.
Yeah, Mum had tetracycline, a drug given to people with pneumonia, and she had pneumonia when I was in her tummy, and tetracycline had a side effect which would stain your bones or your teeth. At that time, they didn't know that. So my teeth were actually shiny black. They looked like a pool ball, Wow. And I used to get... all through my primary school, people would say, "Don't you ever brush your teeth?" I'd say, I do. And whenever they fell out, I had to wrap them up, and we had to send them to the university for the dentist to have a look at.
I've never heard of that.
But then the second bunch of teeth I got were also stained, and I've been plagued with tooth problems. That's why not one of these teeth is real.
Well, that's a good-looking smile.
Look at those gold there, look at that.
Wow.
Yeah. If the Wiggles hadn't been successful, I would have been one of the guys who, at parties, would pull his teeth out and make him go like that, But...
Right. All right, here's the whole mob.
Oh, my goodness.
Look at them there.
Wow. We were always immaculately dressed. Mum did an amazing job. When you look back, when you grow up, you don't realise how amazing your parents are until you have children yourself. And she did that sort of hairdo there.
I'm going to say there's a fair bit of hair product there.
I'll tell you a funny story. My brother Paul, that's Paul there right next to me, and we looked so alike when we were kids. I was 3 years old, Paul was at kindergarten, and the lady down the road used to take Paul to school.
Right.
One day she came and Paul was in the back and she said, "Quick, Paul, to me, get changed." I was 3 and I didn't know how to say no. She got me dressed like in the school outfit and I went to school and Paul stayed home. And, it's true.
And you were a 3-year-old?
I was a 3-year-old.
All right. Back to Dad. I love this shot. This is the footy team.
Yeah, this is the footy team, rugby league. Dad was the coach, and I guess I was the captain. Good luck to him.
Yeah.
To some rules.
Yeah. Was he a good coach?
He was a great coach. In fact, he'd come up with game plans and stuff like that.
And did the kids actually understand what he was saying?
Well, basically, in rugby league in those days, the kids, they'd all be grouped up like this.
Yep.
His great strategy, which worked every time, was just spread them out, throw it out to this guy, and you run and you score the try.
Right. And no one realised.
It was good.
Oh. All right. Here we are, the handsome man.
This is like a year 3, year 4 ball, and I still don't get it. Holy, what did they expect?
Yes. And you look pretty relaxed on the arm of that young girl. Can you remember her?
Her name's Pauline, and I remember in the rehearsals, and I hope she's not watching this, but I think she had warts on her fingers, and I remember it, and I was really relieved when the gloves came out.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
Mind you, she had the warts. Did you have the black teeth at that
I had the black
stage?
teeth.
After the break, Anthony tells us about his time in the Australian Army.
1 minute you're a cockroach,
Yeah.
and the next you're on the Berlin Wall.
3 years.
3 years.
Wow. Every day. Why?
Welcome back to Pictures of You. We're chatting with Anthony Field, and it seems that every week there's a couple of communion photos.
Yes. Every Catholic, well, I'm not going to say every Catholic, but a lot of Catholics loved the communion dressing up. And
Did you love it at the time?
I loved it, yeah, I did. And I watched my sisters and my brothers all do it, and I wanted to do it too. And it was like some sort of, now
A rite of passage.
Yeah, it was. And I really enjoyed all the rituals and things.
Would you go and confess?
Anyone who grew up Catholic would say that you had to get together with your mates and you'd say, OK, what do we do? What do we do? What do we say? Because you really didn't do much sinning, It was like 8 years old. And so someone had come up with an idea, OK, let's go in and say, OK, I ate someone else's apple or, something like that.
That's great.
Yeah, good fun.
When was the last confession?
That I had?
Yeah.
It's been quite a while for me, I must admit. I feel like a confession now.
No? Well, you probably haven't sinned,
Oh,
you
no,
see.
not at all.
There's been absolutely no reason. Note the colourful tops. It had to start somewhere. What would you say? Purple?
Yeah, Mum used to save time and buy us all the same outfits.
And the older brother's got the walk socks.
See, again, this is a Sydney thing, that the RSL clubs, to get into RSL clubs, you had to have socks up to your knees.
Yes.
And shorts.
You had to have the walk socks.
That was dressing up.
Yeah. How ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I'm loving those colours, and if I could just jump into Wiggle territory for a moment.
Yeah.
Why red, yellow, blue and purple? No green?
It was green originally. I was green originally, but the green screen, when we were naive, we were green. When we shot the first video, which we self-funded, I disappeared. And it's true.
The green screen?
We had green screen, so I had to be blue. And,
Because green, environmentally would have been...
Would have been great.
Would have been good.
Kermit said it all. It's not easy being green.
All right. A little bit of sort of film star look here.
Oh, that's funny, isn't it? That's the Crystal Palace snooker. That was a snooker hall. And
In Sydney.
You go downstairs in George Street, Sydney. And I was 12 or something, and I was a real pool shark. It's, it must have been from the teeth.
Yeah.
I felt related to the pool.
So what, you'd play against other...
I was a bit of a shark. My brother would come down with his friends and I'd pretend I couldn't play. I'd do the classic pool shark thing. And I walked away with $20 one day, and in those days that was a lot of money.
Yeah. Do you still play pool?
No, I haven't played for a long time.
No.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, OK. First rock and roll exploration with the Cockroaches.
Absolutely.
This is a version of the Cockroaches?
This really is. There's my brother John, and Tony Henry is on the drums, and I was playing the guitar. I was at boarding school with my brothers and my friends who made the Cockroaches. We went to one of the brothers and said, we'd like to do a concert and raise money for the missions, you know, the poor people in Africa. So they said, oh, that's great. Now, the brothers made a mistake of not supervising. They forgot about it. And so we got all these guys in. We charged them like 5 cents or 10 cents a ticket. Right, we made $10. We started doing these songs and the place was going nuts because they realised there was no brothers there. And they started rioting. Everybody, like some of the desks started getting smashed. All the guys were going crazy. It was like a prison riot, right?
False in prison.
Anyway, there was hundreds of dollars of damage. Yeah, mayhem. But it was the power of rock and roll, man.
All right, final shot, and perhaps not the shot that we'd expect. You're in the army.
Yeah, I was in the regular army. I signed up, and when I signed up, I was an Elvis. Like I've always been an Elvis fanatic.
Right.
I had this idea. I was 18 years old. I had this idea that we were going to sit on a train and sing. Is this train the Frankfurt Special? Yeah. You ever see G.I. Blues?
Yeah.
I thought there was going to be women everywhere. It was going to be like,
The Fraulines.
Yeah, Fraulines.
2, 3,
The funny
4.
thing was, I did go to Germany with the army, but it was not GI Blues. I was doing guard duty before the wall came down, with an Uzi machine gun, fully loaded, looking out for the Red Guard. I was going, how did I get into this spot? What am I doing here?
1 minute you're a cockroach.
Yeah.
And the next you're on the Berlin Wall.
Yeah, I was on the Berlin Wall. But it was an amazing time.
3 years in the army.
3 years in the army. Actually, the first day in Kapuka, when I was living my Elvis fantasy, those corporals had a bit of funny sense of humour.
Right.
The first night I got there, they said to our platoon, right, gentlemen, I'll leave menus for you. Fill out what you'd like to eat tomorrow for breakfast, and we'll bring it for you in bed so you have your first day. Now we thinking this is great. Anyway, at 5 o'clock in the morning, he literally kicks the door in, and he says, "Get out of bed! You're not smoking drugs on Bondi Beach now." And that was it, man. That was the day I knew I'd made a big mistake. Oh my God! 3 years.
3 years.
Wow! Every day. Why?
Well, we're glad that you got out of the army and have entertained generations of children. It's been wonderful having you
Brian.
here. Ladies and gentlemen, Anthony Field.